Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 11. This one will be undoubtedly the biggest leap forward out of any episode we had so far this season. We will manage to build our new refinery in record time, set up both the internal distribution and the exports for the oil products. Having a domestic source of fuel and bitumen will be a colossal help, both in terms of lowering costs and boosting our income. We will also manage to fix the looming education crisis we saw at the end of the last episode. That one was super easy, but I will explain it when we get to it. Other than that, we will continue doing small adjustments to the town, just so we can pass the time. Before we do anything, I quickly increased the auto-assigned distance for the construction office housing our buses. I forgot to do it when I reassigned the vehicles to it. Next, I will implement the fix for the education system. It's just a matter of increasing the workplace priority for the school in our 2 apartment blocks that have these restrictions. As far as I can tell, since all our college graduates went to the university to teach, none of them were able to fill in other positions, including the school. And since there were no more children getting educated, the eligible citizens who could go to college also dried up. By the end of this episode, we are going to see a huge uptick of highly educated citizens in the Republic. Just the way I like it. We also need to sort out the healthcare issue facing our 3rd apartment block. It is too far away from the hospital, and since I didn't want to use a full-sized facility for a single building, a small clinic will do just fine. I don't think I will even bother to add an ambulance for this one, it's just going to be a walk-in clinic, and all emergency care can be done in the central hospital. We just need to connect it to the footpaths, and we're done. Of course, even though it is going to be built quickly, it will take a while to get enough people educated to make it work properly. But it's ready to go whenever. It's really heartening to see kids getting educated again. Once those couple dozen adults that slipped through the cracks are also done, we are pretty much back to normal. We already had one guy studying at the university. Nature is healing. Next, let's sort out this place. The first idea was to have the storage tanks on this side of the embankment, and sort out the train transport later. Then, as I was editing the last episode, I came to the conclusion that we should build these tanks on the other side, so dealing with the trains will be easier. Well, let's do just that. Of course, we are going to need 2 tanks. One for fuel, and another for bitumen. That takes care of the storage, but we still have other stuff to deal with. One of these is power for the refinery. The current substation only covers the buildings we already have, but it doesn't reach the refinery itself. So it will have to be moved a little. I was really tempted to use the new industrial transformer, but it only had one output left, so I just went with the old one. I would like to reserve that for the gravel processing if I can. Next, we need to sort out the bus stop. We have 2 workplaces in the area, the refinery and the fire station. So, we are going to need to add a side road, so vehicles can keep moving around while we sort this one out. And with this, we can finally take another building off the list of places that still use foreign labor. In fact, I think the only ones left after this will be the ones in Kirkimov. Once we take care of those, we will not use foreigners anymore. Now comes the train station. The only real option we had was to use this junction. Any other place, and the resulting switches would have been too close to each other. I like to leave at least 2 regular signal blocks in between junctions if I can help it. It's not always possible, but I try. Also, it would be helpful if we had bulldozers available. They are busy building the new roads, so we need to wait a minute or so. Shouldn't take too long. There. We are good to go. For a more consistent terrain, I will temporarily trim these tracks back a little bit. After that, we can put them back. Okay, that's the elevated part of the junction ready to be laid out again. We will also need a station, of course. I wasn't sure which side of the road I should put it, but I think a level crossing is going to be okay in this case. Once things are calm, the only road traffic will be the buses going to the refinery, so it should be fine. That should be the last pipe we need for this particular project. Now the tracks. Unfortunately, we need access to both directions, one for domestic distribution, the other for exports. So it won't be the prettiest work I ever done with rails. Yeah, that curve will need to be straightened out in a second. Just barely managed to squeeze these curves in. Really glad I was wrong about the trick a couple episodes ago. It still works if we do it carefully. Now this curve. It needs to be smoother. Yeah, just like that. Not really happy with how close the level crossing is to the station. I might change my mind and move it to the other side of the road. Longer trains will hold up traffic, but we are not building it just yet, so nothing is set in stone. On the other hand, if we put it on the other side, then it would be too close to the junction, and there would be no room for queues. And we have so many overpasses already, so I would like to avoid putting it on the other side of the highway if I can help it. But that might be the only real solution we have. As usual, I will need to think about this. So for now, just think of this as a placeholder. Anyways, while we were busy, the bus stop got built, and the power is almost ready to turn back on. We just need a single bus full of workers, and it's all up and running again. And that's it. The pump jacks are bobbing again. This is where I decided to just go for it, and build the refinery too. The sooner we get it done, the sooner we can wean ourselves off of foreign fuels. Of course, now that the area is ready, the train station notwithstanding, we can place some greenery to liven up the place. The education system is back to normal. We no longer have uneducated adults, and the university is full once more. The school is struggling a little bit from time to time, but we are well on our way to filling every teaching position. As for the hospital, and other similar jobs, well, I'm afraid they will have to struggle for a while. Really not happy about it, but unless I decided to buy highly educated immigrants outright, this is the only real option we have. Well, that's what we get with a sudden burst of constructions. Quite a little traffic jam we have. While the current rate of oil extraction will keep us going for quite a long time, it won't hurt to plan for the future. Thankfully, we have a second oil field on the other side of the river. I am not going to build it just yet, but we might as well place the buildings. In fact, I think this will be dealt with once we have helicopters. I see no reason to build a bridge just for a couple oil wells. Just like before, I will focus on placing the wells with 50% yield. And we have 6 of them. Exactly the same as we have on the other side. A nice little coincidence. I really didn't need to bother with placing the pumps, but we had nothing better to do, so why not get it out of the way? There is no more inlets on this side to connect up to, but we only need to add one pump somewhere, so it's not a big deal. Now the big question. Can we bridge the pipe over the river? Feels like we are just barely out of reach. Maybe a tiny bit of terrain editing will do the trick. And as it turns out, we are quite literally on the edge of the range of the Kirkimov construction offices. How fortunate. Alright, let's check again. That's the ticket. We can do it with overground pipes. Unfortunately, underground ones are still too long, but going over the river will be okay. As I've said, I think we will build this with helicopters. Once we have access to those, we won't need roads, even to put out fires, so this will be a real remote outpost. We are not quite there yet. The number of college graduates dropped a little bit. But we have so many of them in the university already, it's just a matter of time until we see a massive increase. And we only had 5 people emigrate from the country. That's quite good. Not happy about the amount of deaths we had, but as I've said, it's either the current system, or we buy foreign college graduates. I already overinvested in the number of citizens, so I rather not invite more from abroad. Also, it was suggested a couple times that we should lower the number of workers in certain buildings. I am always very reluctant to do it, since I always forget to set them back once we have more people. But now, I made sure to add them to the to-do list, so I don't leave these half-staffed. It seems the educational intervention worked. The number of uneducated citizens now only include the babies, and about a third of school-age children. Pretty much the best I ever managed to achieve. It's only a matter of time before we can stop worrying about it. While we patiently wait for the oil refinery to finish, might as well do some decorating. Now that the game has been reloaded, we can place trees and bushes in places where I could not in the last episode. Also, it was brought to my attention that I should upgrade the road segments on the median for better visibility. First, I wanted to see how they would look if we replaced the gravel texture with the concrete version. While they stand out a little bit more, it just wasn't enough. Yeah, they will have to be upgraded. But, at least we discovered that the concrete median looks better than gravel. At least I prefer it like this. Anyways, let's upgrade the crossroads. Thankfully, we have segments already upgraded at the end, so traffic will not be interrupted. With the refinery construction underway, it was time for one more loan. Thankfully, once it's up and running, our money troubles should be at an end. And none too soon. We are only about 300,000 rubles away from hitting our current debt ceiling. Really not happy about it. But at least we did good work with it, so that's something. Right? I'm a bit surprised that the amount of steel needed to build this refinery didn't bankrupt us straight away. It's always so satisfying to see a big number of workers being dropped off at a construction site, and seeing the progress bar going into high gear. Just like that. And that should be the last crossroads in the town that needs upgrading. After this, I'm happy with the current state of the road network. And the 2 tanks are done. Let's set their preferred item to store, so we don't accidentally end up with both having the same. And the refinery is almost done. We just need a little bit of steel, and then it's full steam ahead for the workers. This truck will deliver the last shipment. Let's just follow it to pass the time. Alright, everything's delivered. It's all up to the buses now. Despite the high number of people going to the construction site, the clothing industry is still pretty well staffed. Super happy to see it. And we just had the first helicopter enter the market. Still a faraway dream for us, even a single one would cost more than the entire GDP of the country. But we will get there eventually. And take a look at that. We are now officially in the stage where education stopped being a problem. It won't be long before all the other white-collar jobs are starting to be filled, like doctors, police officers, judges, etc. And none too soon. Apart from the healthcare issues, the police are also struggling, barely able to solve any of the crimes, still waiting for an investigator. But look, we just had a doctor enter the small clinic. Things are looking up. And the refinery is complete. The rest of this episode will be all about setting up the different deliveries. First, the commuter line. It is a very worker-hungry place, so we should go for a high-volume solution. No reason to overdo it though, 4 buses should be okay. Let's not repeat the mistake of oversaturating it, like we did with the clothing factories. Might as well send this lone dumper to one of the Kirkomov COs, it's been sitting idle for too long. And this intersection was set up incorrectly. It got me a bit paranoid, so I went around and checked a couple to be doubly sure. Okay, the buses should be ready and fueled by now, time to set up the line. This will take care of both the refinery and the fire station. Just to be on the safe side, let's buy one more fire engine. There we go. At this point, there is no reason to keep these microbuses going, so I'll just send them to the depot. Deleting that line was a bit fiddly, had to remove the stops from each bus individually. We can also name the new one coming in from Estergrad. Now, please disregard this part. My first instinct was to just start exporting everything we made indiscriminately. My reasoning was that we are not using enough of either product to really worry about keeping a local supply. But I will change my mind pretty soon. I will even go as far as naming these lines, even though I will end up deleting them in a couple minutes. We had 7 tankers running on the oil export line, so I just randomly assigned them in a 3-to-4 split, since I didn't think these lines were here to stay. It was easier to wait for them to come to me, instead of looking for them on the road individually. That's it. At this point, we are officially a fuel and bitumen exporting nation. But as I've said, this is not the final setup. At first I didn't really concern myself with having any kind of domestic stockpile. But once I thought about it, I realized that it can be done in a couple minutes, so before I signed off, I decided to just go for it. Also, I was trying to make sure that the Kirkomov distribution center stopped importing fuel and bitumen from the border, but I think it already prioritizes domestic sources, so I stopped. To make the automated exporting work, we will need to give electricity to the storage tanks. The distribution offices would disregard them if they were unpowered. I just connected them to the border. In the next episode I will try to split the line going to the pump jacks, but this stopgap measure will do for now. Two of these free distribution offices are plenty enough for our purposes, but might as well just build all 5, in case we need to expand. All we need to do is send the tanker trucks to them, set up the relevant stops, and we're golden. Of course, I made sure to split them between the 2 customs houses, just in case. Also, I told the offices to only go for a pickup if the tanks are at least 10% full. That's more than enough for our current needs, and we can increase the threshold later if we need to. Another intersection set up incorrectly. Always double check. At this point, we only needed to wait for the power to be turned on, and our exports will be back in full swing. Which brings us to the end of the episode. I think we did quite alright today. We have fuel and bitumen being made, which means quite a big boost to our profits. Hopefully we can stop taking out any more loans, and instead start repaying them, before we accrue too much interest. Plus, we managed to tweak the education enough that we saw a marked increase in the number of highly educated citizens. Always an important milestone. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, then leaving a like and subscribing to the channel just might motivate me to make more. If you are more in the donating mood, you can find a link to my Ko-fi page in the description, where you can buy me a glass of water. I don't really drink coffee. Thank you for your support, and until next time, I will see you later.